So, welcome to another episode of Travel Talk Thursdays. I'm Sean Lues, and today we're stepping aboard one of the world's most iconic train journeys, Rovos Rail, often called the Pride of Africa. If you've ever dreamt of traveling across Africa in absolute elegance, polished wood-paneled carriages, fine dining, breathtaking landscapes rolling past your window, Rovos Rail is the ultimate experience. I'm delighted to be joined today by Carole O'Connor, who plays a key role in bringing this remarkable journey to life. And we'll be talking about the history and magic of Rovos, what makes the experience so unique, and a glimpse into what life is like on board. Carole, thank you so much for joining us. It's a couple of weeks since I saw you here in person across in Australia, and now you're back in South Africa. But could you start by telling us a little bit about your background and how you came to join Rovos?
Yes, good afternoon, Sean. Lovely to see you again, albeit electronically. Thank you for this. I will answer as best I can. Yes, I did an incentive trip for BMW on the train many years ago, about 25 years ago, and we took it was the premier managers. It was a group of about 20 couples, and we took them on the train from Victoria Falls to Pretoria, and I accompanied them as it was my group, and I was just blown away. I'd heard about Rovos. I didn't really know much about it. I love anything mechanical, trains, boats, planes, and that's why I actually proposed Rovos. But I'd never actually traveled on the train, and I traveled with the group, and it just blew me away. And I just thought, right, I've got to get hold of the owners. So one of the girls in the office, she knew the owner, Rowan Foss, and she said, well, give him a ring. And it was before emails and all that sort of thing, So I tried to phone him. And either he was on another call, or he couldn't take the call, or he'd tell me to phone back, or he'd phone me. And it went on for about 2 weeks. And I eventually said to Beatrice, I can't get hold of him. So she said, well, the best thing to do is get hold of his wife and speak to his wife. And then she can speak to him, because he's a busy man, and he kind of commutes between Pretoria and Cape Town. So it was one Friday afternoon, and I poured myself a glass of wine. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to write him a poem. So I did. And I started writing this poem. And wow. I can't remember the whole thing. I saved it on one of my machines and I can't find it. But it went a bit like this. I rode a train a while ago that really blew my mind. And from that day, I truly knew the owner I must find. He phoned me and I phoned him, and grey was all he found. And I can't remember the rest of it. But it was exactly... I know.
That sounds like you've got to find the rest of it. That sounds fascinating.
I can't find it, and I just can't remember it. It was about 2 verses. Anyway, I sent it to her, and the next minute, Rowan phoned me, and he's quite to the point. And he said, I believe you want to see me. So I said, did you get my poem? And he said, yes, that's why I'm phoning you. I'll meet you at Lanseria on Friday, which was the following Friday. That's where he flew from, back to Cape Town. So I went to Lanseria, and I met him in the lounge. Yak, 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 and off he went, and never asked me anything. And then he said, when can you start? And I said, anyway, that's the rest is history. I joined Rovos on a representation basis. I had 2 other properties. I was working with Sabi and Grand Roche Hotel at the time. And I took Rovos on as another property, and I never got a letter of appointment. I didn't get a contract. I didn't get a welcome to Rovos. And over the weeks, I spoke to other colleagues and said, no, well, they don't do that. You're on board now, and you either stick it for 3 months or you'll last for 30 years. Well, 23, nearly 24 years later, I'm still there. Amazing. So that's really how.
A gentleman's word is his honor, hey?
Yeah.
What an amazing story. That's fantastic.
Yes.
So now, Rovos, it's often called the most luxurious train in the world. In your words, what makes it so special compared to other journeys, other trains?
Well, it's luxurious, but I think it's more about the people, the dedication and the passion of the company. The train's beautiful. I mean, you can always have luxury. It's how it's run, how it's managed. And there's nothing pretentious about Rovos. As luxurious and as bucket list as it is, it's a very, very friendly, warm, inviting company. And the staff on board are just lovely and welcome everybody. And that, in conjunction with the beautiful train and the delicious food and everything else, just, I think, makes it very special and unique.
I think that's excellent, because that service is generally what it's all about. Now, just thinking about that, you say it's not pretentious at all. I know at one stage, Rohan absolutely insisted that there was to never be Wi-Fi on board. Is that still the case?
Yes, and the reason being,
okay.
Like Australia, Africa is vast, and
that's fantastic. And out of the routes, so like we have a lot of guests coming across, and some come and do it, 2-3 times. You can, actually, once you've been twice, then you can become a Rovos Club member. We've just had some people sign up for that. They're coming out on their third trip shortly. But for a first-time guest, what would you recommend and why?
Well, you've got to be very careful when you sell Rovos, because, South Africa's got a romanticism like anywhere in Africa. And they've got to enjoy a train ride. We're not I should say a train ride. It's more of an expedition. It's not just getting on a train and going to Cape Town. It's the whole journey. So you need to really establish what they want. And if they're train enthusiasts, if they've been on the trains around the world and they know about trains, then you can pretty much sell them any journey, depending on their budget and their time and all that. But if they've never been on a train, they've never been to Africa, and possibly this is the bucket list that they've decided to embark on, I would recommend a short journey. We've got 3 short journeys: Victoria Falls, which is 3 or 4 nights, Durban, which is 2 nights, and Cape Town, which is 3 nights. And these journeys run every week right through the year. And that would be a taste of Rovos. And then often we find they then would go into the longer journeys and possibly book a longer journey later down the line.
Okay. And I mean, a lot of these routes they travel through such iconic African landscapes, from Namibia down. That's got to be one of my favorite ones. Obviously through Victoria Falls, going over the bridge, that's seriously iconic. And you go all the way up through into East Africa, all the way up to Dar es Salaam, through the Selous, what used to be called the Selous Game Reserve, where I spent many years guiding. Beautiful areas, and that whole area just before that, the Musambaras and the mountains there. Are there any of these that even the crew, it stops them and that gets them excited about it?
Well, we have quite a large crew. And we tend to use a specific crew for certain journeys. It's a long way. It's a long time away from home. A lot of them have kind of got used to it. They love it. But it's so beautiful to see a crew member that's possibly not done a Dar es Salaam or in Namibia for the first time. And sometimes I heard of a story once where they were serving lunch and she just couldn't help it, but she just says, "Oh, look at that." And, kind of everybody looked and they all clapped, and, it's not a normal thing to happen. They don't.
No. And I think when you get it from the staff, it makes it just so much more special.
Yeah.
Can you paint for us a picture for our listeners what a typical day on Rovos might be like?
Well, we include excursions off the train on all our journeys. It depends which journey you're on. Namibia, for instance, is one of our favorites, and it's very popular with Australians. Well, typically, you would wake up in the morning. A lot of guests walk through to the observation car early in the morning, 6 o'clock. They have some coffee. We've got an open balcony, and it's really nice at that time of the day to sit out and just gather your thoughts. And then everybody kind of ambles into breakfast between 7 and 10. It's very relaxed. And then if there's an excursion, the excursions normally happen in the morning or in the afternoon. And they would then go off on the excursion, come back. We always try and plan it so when they come back, they have lunch or they have dinner. So they'd possibly go, if they were doing a morning game drive, for instance, when we go to Durban, we would serve a continental breakfast from 5:30 in the morning till about 6:30. And then they would disembark the train, and the rangers from the lodge would be waiting for them in the open vehicles. They'd disembark the train, get into the vehicles, and go on a morning safari. And then they'd come back to the train after about 3 or 4 hours, and we'd do a lovely brunch. We never stop eating and drinking on Rovos. I mean, that's all part of the fun. And then
The
we'd
dining experiences are legendary on Rovos. They really are.
yeah. And we'd amble down the track, and we'd stop and do another excursion, and then get back and dinner, change for dinner, meet for pre-dinner drinks, go into dinner. We've only got one sitting or meal time, so all the guests kind of move into the dining cars about 7 in the evening, and we serve a beautiful dinner. And dinner, it's like the olden days, it's not your degustation menu or your nouvelle cuisine. It's really lovely, wholesome food, emphasis on fresh and healthy, decent portions, 4-course paired with wine. So dinner can last until midnight, from 7 in the evening till midnight. And we never tell anybody to move on. We close the dining car when the last one leaves. So that's a typical day with excursions. We have the odd day or two on the long journeys where they're on the train the whole day. They talk to each other. That's a big thing. Nobody talks to each other. They make friends. They read a book. They have a nap in the afternoon. It's like it used to be. I always say it's Downton Abbey days. I don't know if you ever got Downton Abbey in Australia, but that's a bit like it.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I like that. And do you have any favorite dishes or menus on board the train?
Oh, it was so funny. We did Mega Lekker. Let me just get my year now. In February this year, yes. And the excuse me, the night before the agents flew back, we brought them all to Rovos, and we put them on the train for lunch. There was 110 agents and media, wholesalers, everyone. And we thought we were really going to spoil them. So the chef did deboned lamb shanks. Now, if you've ever had a lamb shank with a bone in it, it's not the most elegant meal to try and eat it. So
no, but it was very delicious, but yes.
Because it's traditional food, it's Karoo lamb. And anyway, so the chef did these deboned lamb shanks. Well, you've never in your life seen the most amazing food. There was so much, nobody could finish it. I think it was like a leg of lamb, never mind a lamb shank. Everybody raved about it. I mean, it was just piping hot and delicious. It was your typical kind of a Sunday roast that you would get, when you were kids at home with mum. And it was just so delicious. Yeah, it was elegant. It was beautifully presented as it is. But it was a decent plate of food, and it was so enjoyed by everybody. And that's kind of what we do. The owner, he likes a good plate of food. So you'll get, a lovely fish, and you get a piece of steak, you'll get a roast, you get accompanied with the freshest of everything that we can find, So all the meals are great. I can't really say, but that was a highlight, I must say.
Nice. And in terms of the walls of the dining car, if they could talk, any stories?
I think it's friendship.
Or none that you could tell.
What goes on the train stays on the train. But the dining cars are a way of people getting to know each other, because we've got tables of 4 and tables of 2. And you'll get a couple on the train, and they will be put at their own table. We never mix people together. And then the table of 2 behind them will suddenly start talking, and then they move to a table of 4. So suddenly they've got to know each other, and there's been wonderful friendships formed on the train, and stories. People talk to each other. There's no rush. It's just a way of bonding and living a life that we used to live without technology. And enjoying the wine, enjoying the food, laughing,
enjoying the company. And wildlife, any particular wildlife sightings that you've heard stories of or experienced yourself from the train?
There is, and it happened a long time ago. when we go to Victoria Falls or come from Victoria Falls, actually go through the Wangi National Park. The line goes through at a certain point. And it was a few years ago. And I was chatting to the train manager, and he said to me, "You never guess what happened. We were delayed for about 2 hours." We do get delayed. It's a regular thing for us. So I said, "Where did you get delayed?" "Oh, no, in Wangi." He said, "But you never guess what we were delayed for." I said, "No." He said, "It was a herd of elephant crossing the line." And the train manager was so worried about the train being delayed. He went down the train and he's telling everybody, "Look, we're sorry, we're going to arrive in Victoria Falls a little bit later than scheduled." And everybody's saying, "Oh, okay. What's the problem?" "Oh, no, there's a herd of elephant on the track." Well, everybody was so like, "Oh, my word. Can we get off the train and see the elephant?" Now, we're on a long train, and that train is nearly a kilometre long. But the elephant were at the front, so the people at the back couldn't see the elephant. And it was like, oh my gosh, it was the highlight of the trip. So, yeah, and those things happen. I mean, you run alongside that national park, you see buffalo, elephant. It's really the only trip that's without a stop that you would see them. You know, we do stop at various game reserves. We do a game drive, but it often entails a transfer. But this is actually a moving train going through a region where you see the wild animals, and it's really special. Yeah.
It's quite a famous bit of track. That I think it's one. It's not but it's one of the longest straight stretches of track.
Yes. Single track.
And it's also, I remember when that was part of Rhodes's Cape to Cairo dream. And I know when they were laying that, I think they were laying that track a mile a day. What are your top 3 tips for someone preparing for a Rovos trip?
And understand the journeys. That's very important. You know, and go onto our website, speak to the agent, whatever, just research, get to understand what we're about, because we're not your typical train. And work through an agent. Don't come direct to us. We don't want direct bookings. There's too much to include in any Rovos journey. You know, it's not just about the train, it's about the other land arrangements, its flights, its transfers. So work through an agent and understand that you're in Africa. And I always say when I sell the train that you're on an expedition. And when you talk about expeditions in Africa, it has like a romanticism attached to it. We do have challenges, and we try and factor in various plan Bs. One of the challenges, delays. We can be delayed. A train in front of us can be delayed. It can be all sorts of things. And don't be in a rush. You know, just because of these delays, we've actually extended our Cape Town journey. We did it a couple of years ago to 3 nights.
Yeah, I remember that.
Do not fly home the day that you arrive on Rovos. It's just not.
Cutting
it's
it
not
too fine, and it's a bit of a risk. Yeah.
It's just, you know, we will get you to your final destination, but you're in Africa, and that's when I talk about the elephant crossing. We can be delayed. We can be delayed for a goods train that's whatever the case, or we can be delayed for elephant crossing. So, you know. Spend a night before you fly back, or you know, wherever you're going after the trip, and don't be in a rush. It's a really sublime, relaxed way of traveling. So that's why I say do your research, understand what you're going to be embarking on, and then you'll have a fantastic holiday with us, because there's nothing like it.
And I think that's, you know, you were saying earlier about doing it through an agent, and a good agent will make sure that you know it's the right person that's going on it. And if you're not into train trips, you're not going to do the Dar es Salaam to Cape Town trip. Rather do Cape Town to Pretoria or something like that.
Yeah.
So now you've also got a special running with the Southern Cross at the moment, which I think it's a great special, and we've actually added a little bit to it, and we're selling it as a package with business class flights from Australia. So that's in April and again in November 2026. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic journey, and we do bring in quite a lot on that trip. I mean, we're going into Mozambique, going into Eswatini, into Zimbabwe. It is a fabulous trip.
So it's 4 different countries and a huge amount of variety. Yeah, I'm very
Oh,
excited.
yes.
We've got some clients already doing the April one. I'm pretty sure we'll get some more to do that, and maybe even for November next year as well.
Well, if anybody's ever been to Porto in Portugal, the station there is absolutely amazing. It's got all those beautiful blue murals and tiles, and the Maputo station, because it's Portuguese speaking, looks very much like it. It's the most beautiful station, and it's a rare
Okay.
thing to find in Africa, but it really is. So, and we stop, and obviously we go and have a nice lunch in Maputo. So it's a lovely diverse trip, is that one.
Well, Carole, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight into the world of Rovos. You've painted a wonderful picture of what it's like to step aboard, experience the elegance, the atmosphere, the romance of train travel. And for those listening, if Rovos has captured your imagination, I can't recommend it highly enough. It really is a great experience, very graceful way to see the continent, an experience that will stay with you a long time after that journey ends. So you can find out more at rovos.com and, of course, speak to us at Journeys Worldwide. We'll help you plan the perfect Rovos adventure. Thanks, Carole, for joining us, and thank you for listeners for joining Travel Talk Thursdays. Until next time, I'm Sean Lues. Safe travels, and we'll see you on the next journey.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.